Welcome back. So now that you know how to create terrain and landscapes for the games that you're creating in Roblox Studio, we're going to move on to placing parts and models into the game, and this is going to make it much more interesting as we move forward. Let's get started. So we're working in Roblox and we have a terrain that looks something like this. And you can go back to the terrain editor lessons if you want any review on how to change the terrain. Now we want to start putting things into the game. Now, in order to add a part, we've talked about this before briefly, but you go to the Home tab and then you have got this part icon here, and you can either click the part and that will place the last part that you used, which would be a block in this case, or you can go to the drop-down menu and then place what you would like to, so maybe something like a sphere. So you can see they were added. And again, if you have any problems like finding the parts, then you can just scroll out, zoom out, so that you can find them on the map. They should always be placed somewhere on top of a terrain, and you'll be able to see them. And if you can't find them, you can go over to the Explorer tab, click on the part, and then press F, and that will focus you on the part, so you'll see exactly where it was placed. So in addition to the sphere and the block, you can add a wedge. So I added a wedge here, and then you can also add a cylinder. So you probably noticed that the grass is kind of in the way of the parts right now, and it actually like sticks through some of the parts. So let's change that, and let's change this to, instead of using this realistic grass that's moving around, let's just change it to a flat grass. In order to do that, you want to go over to your Explorer tab, and you go to your workspace, and you're going to click on Terrain. And then in Appearance, you're just going to click on Decoration. So you see it's clicked right now. I'm going to unclick that. And so now your grass should be flat grass. And this will make it easier to see exactly what I'm doing with these shapes. So again, I've got these different shapes that I've added to the game. Let's start with the block over here. Now you can move the block and change the size of the block and all those kinds of things. The easiest way to do that is to go up to the Home, and then you have the Select button, which will move it. You can just click on it and drag. I can also move it this way too, and this is better for building. If you're building like walls or those kinds of things, you want to move along certain planes, and so you can move up and down and so forth. And then you can scale this so that I can make it long, tall, or wide. And again, each one of those arrows is kind of like when we were scaling the terrain. Again, the red will go along one axis, and then the blue and the green. So you know how to scale, move, and that. And then you can rotate this also. So let's say I wanted to rotate. I would just click on the rotate, and now you are given these rotate axes, and it will rotate in certain directions. Yours might be a little different than mine, and the reason is because if you go up to the left-hand side of the screen and model, you'll notice that there's the rotate and the move. So right now I have my rotate at 1 degree. So that means every time I rotate something, it'll go at 1 degree. I'll show you what happens if I make this larger. Let's make it 20. And that's going to be 20 studs, 20 degrees, and one rotation. So watch what happens when I rotate now. It's more blocky when it moves. It doesn't move smooth. So you can see that when I increase that, it moves at a different degree. And that might be helpful depending on what you're building. So, but right now I'm going to keep it at 1 degree. And when I go back to 1 degree, you'll notice I can move it really smoothly again. And then whenever I move something around the map, you'll notice the move is by stud. And I can change this also. Again, let's say I went by 20 studs or something like that. So now I'm going to go back to Home, click on Move. And now when I move it, you'll notice it moves at 20 studs at one time. So again, in order to change this, go up to Model, and then Move, and I'll put that down to 1. So that's how you can control where the item is placed, as well as the scale and the rotation. But this item also, or this part also has other properties associated with it. So with the part highlighted, you'll notice in the Explorer, it is highlighted there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this. You just click right on top of the name, and I'm going to rename this, let's say block. Okay, so now I've got the block part there, and if I click on the sphere, you notice it highlighted the other part, so I'm going to go ahead and rename that one sphere, so I know what I'm working with here. And this will be important as we code and do those kinds of things, because you're going to want to reference the parts, and they're going to need a unique name most likely. So, and then let's go to this other part. This is the cylinder. So I'm going to go ahead and name this cylinder. And again, you can name these all kinds of things, A, B, C, if you wanted to. So we're going to go back to the rectangle or the block. And so I have it highlighted. And with it highlighted, you're going to go over to the Explorer. And you'll notice there are properties associated with this. So we've got a brick color. And then if we want to have the thing cast a shadow, if I unclick that, you'll notice the shadow went away. And so these are all the things that control the properties of the part. So let's say I want the color to not be gray, but I wanted it to be, I like this teal blue color, that's nice. So, or maybe I wanted it to be a teal blue. And again, I can keep moving around, but now it's blue. There's a material that you can change also. And again, this is all something that's easily done and will give your game a custom feel depending on what you choose here. So maybe I wanted to have it be glass, kind of like a shiny look there. Let's do maybe something like marble. So if I zoom in, you can kind of see a marble texture on top of that. One that is pretty popular is brick, of course, and so now we've got kind of like a blue brick that actually looks kind of cool. So we'll stick with that for now. So again, to get to the properties, you have to highlight the part, and then the properties will come up on the bottom right-hand side. Okay, so now that we have the parts named, we're going to move on to the next lesson where we're actually going to be changing the properties of the parts that we've created. So your action item for today is to go ahead and add several of the parts, add a sphere, a cylinder, a wedge, and a block. And once you have those added, then we can start editing the properties of those parts in the next lesson.